What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. A couple things before we get started that I want to address. One thing being the audio quality. Of course, this is not our normal thing here, but I'll explain that in a moment. If you don't know who I am, I'm Tony Mango, and I'm normally joined by Robert DeFelice and Callum Wiggins, but it is 7:42 p.m. I did not tell them that I was recording this, and I am not recording this in my normal setup. Instead, I am currently in Brazil. I do not have my Blue Yeti microphone. I do not have all the filters for the microphone. I do not have my desktop. And I'm in a room with a lot of echo. So I'm calling my Discord channel and recording this through my Samsung Galaxy phone. So you are getting, this is the best I can do when it comes to this. So if you're brand new to the podcast, this is not how we normally do things, but welcome anyway. And if you are a regular, sorry for the lack of quality and everything like that, but I figured, you know what, better than nothing, I'd give you something here. So it's going to be rather short, partially because I've tried to record this a couple different times and I ran into some issues here and there. So I'm going to try to keep this relatively short. But I am, as I said, I'm recording this on Discord. And by the way, if you have not joined the Discord server and you're interested in that, go ahead and join that on the link that you can find on the sidebar of smarkamoment.com or below on YouTube. Or if you just look at your screen right now, if you're on YouTube, then that's the link for that. So join us over there. Keep in mind, too, if you want to help support us, keep the channel website going, then the best two ways to do that are the Patreon and the YouTube channel membership. Subscribe even to the $1 a month tier. It's greatly appreciated. $5 and up, even more. $10 and up, the Darkcast tier, all that great stuff. Thumbs up on that front. So you got the thanks button. You got Red Bull and TeePublic when it comes to merchandise options. And of course, the totally free things. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get your email alerts set up. There will not be a post show for this because this setup is honestly not going to hold itself when it comes to the streaming side of things. I don't think it's at all possible for me to do that, but we'll be back, with post shows when I'm back in the United States. Nevertheless, though, we got all that stuff going on. If you want to hit the share button, pass us around on Reddit and stuff like that, it's greatly appreciated too. It helps out the channel. So Crown Jewel, the Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition preview, all the normal stuff that we do here. I'm going to try to breeze through this as quickly as I can. We got 5 matches on the card as far as what is currently announced on Wednesday night. We got the tag team match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky against the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. I fully expect Rhea Ripley and Io Sky to win this match for a couple different reasons. One being Kairi beat Io on this most recent episode of Monday Night Raw with a lot of help from Asuka. But in the rule of thumb for WWE, if you win the go home show, you most likely are going to lose the actual pay-per-view match. But on top of that, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are the bigger deals overall in the grand scheme of things right now. And Rhea Ripley in particular is especially a bigger deal right now because she is from Australia. So when they are in Perth, she is going to get a massive reaction. And I see no reason why she should be losing this match whatsoever. So I think that this is a pretty straightforward situation where Rhea Ripley hits the Riptide on most likely Kairi Sane and gets the pin on her. Maybe Io follows it up with Moonsault and actually gets the pin herself after the Riptide or something, but spotlight's going to be on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky regardless. So I am very, very confident that those two win that match. I'm not quite the same confident level of the Australian street fight, but that does have Bronson Reed in it. Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. And Bronson Reed is from Australia. They're going into this with the whole, he is so undefeated from doing these matches and stuff. So I think that there is a very good chance that Bronson Reed actually beats Roman Reigns here. But it all depends on whether or not they actually are willing to have Roman Reigns lose. We've seen plenty of times where he could have lost, whether it's a tag team match where he doesn't get pinned, or, he's taken a few pins here and there. So he's not infallible and perfect and, completely unstoppable. And Bronson Reed's a big guy, and he's somebody that they should be trying to push. But even more so than anything else, Braun Breaker is not on this card. And if he does not show up in this street fight, it's no disqualification. He very well could. The only thing that can offset him, really, outside of the idea of just like Roman beats both of them, which I really don't see the point in that, is if the Usos and or LA Knight and or CM Punk come out. And with all the infighting that is happening between the Usos, CM Punk, and LA Knight, I don't think that there is much of a chance that those four and any kind of combination can really help out Roman Reigns. But it's all building to War Games, I would assume. Whether that's those four and Cody, and Roman is sitting out. Maybe he gets taken out during this match or something, and then that would suck if they just kick Roman out of the mix like that. Or maybe it's LA Knight that is not involved, and maybe LA Knight is doing something else. I don't know. It seems like he's kind of like the next in line potentially to challenge Seth Rollins again. So maybe they do something on that front. I don't know. But I'd imagine that Cody is most likely in there. I'd imagine that Roman's most likely in there, and the Usos and CM Punk. And it's the LA Knight question mark. I don't know. But hey, if you want to give more of a win to the Vision heading into War Games and make them even more powerful, and whether they team up with Brock Lesnar or Drew McIntyre or whoever it might be, I think that a win here for Bronson Reed can go a long way. So I'm hoping that Bronson Reed wins this match. And it's a street fight. You could do anything. I don't know if they're going to gimmick it up in any kind of like specifically Australian way. Bodine, if you're listening, maybe they what are they gonna do, magpies or something. But they do that with like the Trick or Street fight or the Miracle on 34th Street fight, where they kind of like they put presents around, or the pumpkins or something. I have no idea what they would do when it comes to the Australian street fight. Bunch of Crocodile Dundee references and Shrimp on the Barbie and all that stuff. Like, they get stereotypical, they could do that stuff. But this could very well just be as a street fight, and they're calling it an Australian street fight because it's in Australia, and they could be lame like that. I'm thinking at the very least, Bronson Reed should win this. And we'll come back around, and since Callum and Rob aren't here, we'll talk about this off the air for our fantasy league predictions and stuff. I don't know if I'll change my mind when we actually get to the pay-per-view. Pay-per-view starting, by the way, for everybody, 8 a.m. Eastern time, because of the whole Australian time zone difference and stuff. But that is something we'll address with the fantasy league later on. There is a singles match between AJ Styles and John Cena, and this match has no story to it, but that's perfectly okay, because the story is we need to try to cram in as many matches as we can with John Cena while we still have him, and this was one of the ones that John Cena wanted, AJ Styles wanted it, the fans wanted it, so go ahead and do it. I don't see any reason why you need to try to build a different story around it. They even referenced the whole beat up John Cena thing, and that's a great way to just call back to that and all. But this should be just a contest of two of the greatest, and they go out there, they shake hands, they have a match, they try to win. Ultimately, I think that John Cena is going to win. I think that he should win. I'd like to see him go up against Dominic Mysterio and Jacob Fatu, and there's so many different people, but they're not going to be able to cram them all in there. And in the grand scheme of things, I would have gone with some people that, like, I really wish that they could have done a story with Drew McIntyre and John Cena. I really wish that they could have done a Braun Breaker match. There's handfuls of names, people that Carmelo Hayes is another one that I would love to have seen work with John Cena. Trick Williams to make a stop down in NXT and have a match in NXT would be a lot of fun. But I definitely don't see any reason why Styles should win this whatsoever. I think it's just clean cut. John Cena wins. They shake hands at the end of it, and then he moves on to his next opponent, whoever that is, whether that's in War Games or that's elsewhere, or whatever. Probably elsewhere, I'm assuming. There's too many people that can already try to fit into the War Games match, and John Cena could just have a different match on the card. Maybe that's the Dominic Mysterio one. It's not going to be Gunther. It seems like Gunther is going to be the very last opponent in December at the Saturday night's main event. So, not opposed to that whatsoever. We'll talk about that more a little bit later on, though. And then when it comes to the final two matches, I told you I'm breezing through this. I don't know how long this is going to be able to last before it screws me over and stops recording. The two crown jewel matches that are happening are the two Raw and SmackDown world champions on the men's and women's division. So Raw has the Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer against the SmackDown Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton. And then you've got SmackDown's Cody Rhodes with the Undisputed WWE Championship, and Seth Rollins over there on Monday Night Raw with the World Heavyweight Championship over in the men's division. So last year was the first of the crown jewel match, championship, champion versus champion type things. We've seen them plenty of times before with Survivor Series, where it's been like, Raw versus SmackDown, the world champions, mid card champions, tag champs, that kind of thing. But since this is a quote unquote championship that is supposed to matter even more, even though it doesn't matter whatsoever, I think that slightly changes some things up a little bit. I'm not entirely sold that it has to go one way or another when it comes to the women's side, but I very much more lean towards Stephanie Vaquer winning. I think that in the grand scheme of things, when you are looking at those two, if you want to try to give a boost to one of them, I think you should probably give it to the newer champion who hasn't held the championship for 10 months compared to Tiffany Stratton being the champion at the beginning of the year. And even though Tiffany Stratton has not had a great title reign when it comes to like the level of opponents that she's had, she's only had Nia Jax, Jade Cargill, Charlotte Flair, and I think that there was like one match against Bailey or something. She's still been champion for 10 months, whereas Stephanie Vaquer had this whole like dawdling time frame, and she's picking up where Naomi left off and everything like that. So this was not necessarily their plan, I would assume. I figured that they probably would have been having Tiffany Stratton against Naomi, maybe, but Stephanie Vaquer is the one that I would pick, at least. Give her a boost and keep that momentum going. Tiffany Stratton can lose. It's not like she is in some kind of infallible, if she loses, she looks like a complete idiot type of way or something. And if they have a competitive enough match and Stephanie Vaquer wins, I see absolutely no reason that that's a problem. So keep that in mind. When it comes to, it could go either way, technically, but I don't anticipate that it's going to be Tiffany Stratton. I'm going to be a little bit disappointed if it is, to be honest. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, though, I think that 100% has to go to Seth Rollins. Cody won last time against Gunther, and Cody has won King of the Ring. He's a two-time champion over the past 2 years, that kind of thing. He's done so much already, and I am not at all in that kind of mindset of like, oh, well, I'm over Cody, so he should just lose everything. But Seth Rollins has even had this whole conversation with Paul Heyman. If he loses all of his momentum, and then everybody else is going to leave him and everything like that. And that just fundamentally can't happen based off of him being the top heel in the company and the focal point of Monday Night Raw and the whole setup for WrestleMania. I'm assuming it's going to be against Roman Reigns, but you never know. And Cody can just lose by so many other methods. We're going to have Bronson Reed here, and most likely Braun Breaker is going to be here. And as much as Braun Breaker can get involved in the street fight, there are ways for either or both of them to get involved in this match too. So Cody losing is not going to hurt him whatsoever, especially if he loses through some kind of shenanigans and, it ends up being like, hey, come on, I'm going to get some payback to you when we fight at War Games. And, it's Team Cody Rhodes against Team Seth Rollins. You got Cody and Roman and CM Punk and the Usos or whoever against Seth and Braun, and I don't know who the other two would be. I'm just kind of assuming it's Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, but it could, Drew McIntyre could get swapped out there for somebody else. I don't really know who. But that's kind of the way that I'm seeing it, is that like this should go to Seth Rollins. And if it doesn't, then I think that that'll be kind of a mistake. I like Cody. He's one of my favorites and everything. So it's like it's not going to be something that would annoy me if Cody Rhodes won because of Cody. It would just annoy me that Seth is the guy that needs it more in my mind. So again, I breezed through here just to make sure that I get this all recorded and up and running and all. But those are my predictions. And Rob and Callum, I'm gonna try to figure out their predictions outside of this mix, and do that with the whole fantasy league and stuff. But as I said before, it was either record this in the way that I'm doing this at the time that I'm doing this, and everything else like that, or it was to not have any kind of predictions side of things. So hopefully, at least this is better than nothing. And again, I apologize about the audio quality. It is quite literally the best thing that I have going on for me right now. I didn't bring a microphone with me. So, that's way too much to pack, and it's way too complicated and all. But yeah, we will. I don't know the next time around that you're going to be listening to us. I don't know if they are going to record something separately, somewhere along the line. If maybe I'm going to be a part of it or not. If we do, we will see you then. If not, then we will see you whatever it might be. But the post show that normally would be following Crown Jewel is not going to be happening unless people beg and plead. And if I have this set up, the setup's not going to get any better than what it is right now for this recording. So that kind of is what it is. But if you really really like that and you still want me to try to do something, I can try to do a quick thing. But I also don't know what my schedule is even looking like. So more than likely, no post show. At some point, in some fashion, we will talk about the results of Crown Jewel. But as per usual, you can find the results on smark@moment.com. You can find some thoughts out there. I'll maybe try to tweet some stuff or something like that. But I also want to know what you have to say. So drop a comment below and tell me what you think about the Crown Jewel predictions and the pay-per-view coming up on this Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Ugh. Make sure that you are following everything under A Mango Tree at amangotree.com or anthonymango.com. You can find all the links to Smark Out Moment there, all the Fanboys Anonymous stuff, and all of my personal things as well. Letterboxd and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think that is overall it. And I will see you when I see everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and I'm being counted out.